Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR318. It's WWE Survivor Series 2020, and I have the pleasure to be joined again by JaxieScarlett. How you doing?
Hey, hi, how are you doing? I'm doing good, thanks.
And of course, you haven't been back on since, I think, Night of Champions. So what have you been up
Yes.
to, and what were your thoughts on WWE since that event?
Yeah, just been obviously keeping up to date with all wrestling news and stuff. I thought going into Survivor Series, this was going to be quite an interesting one, considering they hadn't included NXT in this one. So I was definitely excited to kind of watch this year's one and see how different it would actually be.
Yeah, well, what better way to kick off then with kickoff for the event? And of course, it's November 22nd, 2020. On the kickoff panel, we have Charlie Caruso, JBL, Jerry the King Lawler, Booker T, and Peter Rosenberg. And one of the things I'm looking at the panel is back in 2004, so 16 years ago now, JBL and Booker T faced each other for the WWE Championship, and now they're on the kickoff panel. I wonder in 16 years'
Wow.
time, McIntyre and Reigns will be on the kickoff panel for the 2020.
It would definitely be interesting to see if they kind of plan it out that way.
Yeah. So
Guess
it's
we'll have
just
to
little
watch for the
things.
next 16 years,
Yeah.
and then we can actually think about that. So I'll definitely keep that in mind in 16 years' time.
Without a doubt. But the question is, like I said, we're headed into Survivor Series with no NXT. It's Raw versus SmackDown. Does brand supremacy matter now in WWE?
I mean, I realistically, I kind of felt that more come from the invasion of NXT last year. I didn't with the build up towards Survivor Series as much as I was looking forward to the matches. I didn't feel that brand versus brand was like so much a sort of necessity for them to point out. I think it was more just sort of personality versus personality more than anything.
Well, I think it's interesting because you've got so many people, and I think we're going to get onto that in a little bit as well. People that
Mm,
have been a part of SmackDown for so long are now representing Team Raw and vice versa. The fact is,
yeah.
what do the wrestlers get out of it? If there's a caveat of saying, right, if you win the men's match or the women's match, then you might be number one contender. I always remember at
Mm,
Survivor Series, I think when Maven was a part of it, and every member was
mm.
awarded something because they won the match. And I think that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
It does. It felt like there was no sort of payoff to the brand winning this year, which is a little bit disappointing. I know that they tried to kind of incorporate that into Raw and in the most recent Raw, last night's Raw, but yeah, it's not got the same it factor as what it did years ago. You know, as you said, with the whole reward system.
I think that's out. And we see on the kickoff as well, we see Heyman interview say McIntyre is a babysitter for a belt and Roman Reigns is a true champion. Natalia and Belair join the panel and they ask themselves who is the SmackDown captain. We see Rikishi backstage, which is always
Mm.
cool to see. Of course, the Usos. I watched wrestling for so long, I'm still freaked out that Rikishi, the Usos are Rikishi's sons. Because I used
Yeah,
to
yeah,
watch it, I was like, no,
yeah.
Rikishi's not that old, is he? He can't be like.
Mm. It is a little bit scary to think about it, to be honest. But I did actually get to watch a lot of the Total Diva show when Naomi was still part of it. So there was a lot of talk about Rikishi on there. So I feel like I've gotten used to the fact that they're his sons now. But it is really strange considering, you knew or remember what Rikishi was like in the ring, like his set moves that he always used to do. It's very different to compared to what his sons are doing in the ring at the moment. But I think that Rikishi's must look at this and just look at how much pride he's got for his sons because they're doing a great job.
I think without a doubt, and well, again, we get on to it, but that Survivor Series event felt like it was there for the Sami Zayn on the panel, and he wants respect, and he seemed a bit anti-USA, which is, I hope they don't go that way with Sami because he's so much better than that.
Yeah, agreed.
And then we see R-Truth, who thought it was 30 years of celebrating the gobbledygooker at Survivor Series.
Oh my god.
And then
I had a little bit of an issue with that whole segment, to be honest. I don't think that we needed to lower the standards of the 24/7 belt or having the gobbledygooker win it. I mean, it was nice that it was just sort of like highlighting 30 years since his first appearance. But I just feel like, even though our truth is great with the belt and he's doing really, some good stuff with it, They didn't need to give it to the turkey.
Well, like we said, the Gobbledygooker is the 24/7 champion for now.
Mhm.
And then we get on to
Yeah.
the Battle Royal, and Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, Murphy. The three of them came out together. So obviously it's the Mysterio family unit now. Miz and Morrison, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Bobby Roode, Ziggler, Chad Gable, Elias, Apollo Crews, Alberto Carrillo, Angel Garza, Kalisto, Ricochet, and Jeff Hardy. Now, this wasn't announced till really later on, and was kind of thrown together. Out of
Yeah,
all,
but I'm a lot shocked. I'm really shocked that they didn't do any more sort of like social media promotion for this, even if it was sort of just put together last minute. They could have been promoting it online. So that came as a bit of a shock for me to find out it was on the kickoff show.
and the kind of name talent that was in there. I mean, I originally went for Otis because I'd forgotten he was on the SmackDown men's team. That's how much I pay attention. So, and someone that I went predictions went Big E, but apparently Big E and Lars weren't involved in this one because they want to be protected. So, and we saw Big E later on. But Dominic scored the first stunning elimination of the match as he eliminated John Morrison straight off the belt. Dolph Ziggler then dumped Mysterio, and the Hurt Business earned a few eliminations till Ricochet delivered a massive suplex that sent Alexander packing. Crews got a measure of revenge on the Hurt Business, eliminating Benjamin to clear the faction from the match. Murphy and Ziggler teed off on each other on the apron until Rude sent the former to the locker room. Dominic knocked Rude to the floor and paired off with a show-off. Neil advised blind charger to ring post dropkick for Dominic led to Ziggler's departure. Across the ring, Hardy eliminated Nakamura, then continues his rivalry with Elias before getting eliminated himself. And then we saw Gable and Dominic teaming up to battle Raw's Hardy and The Miz. And the commentators were going, oh, this is the past versus the future. Well, no, it's not. You've been treating Gable awfully recently. And, you know, Dominic's kind of involved in this. Gable did look fantastic in this, though. He eliminated Hardy with a clothesline. Miz counted 619 by Dominic with a big boot to the face. Then Dominic appeared to have eliminated Miz. Miz went over the top, and then as he's falling, he's rolled back underneath the bottom rope and then back out. And apparently that's not an elimination because he's come back into the ring.
Right. Okay.
Everybody knew at this point that he hadn't been eliminated, but then Dominic eliminated Gable, celebrated as if he'd had one, and then the Miz came back in and sent Dominic over the top. So the Miz does get the win.
Didn't they do this similar storyline with the women's battle royale just a short while back? Where was it Natalia thought she'd won, and then Lana came in and just chucked her out too? Wasn't that something similar?
We have seen this countless of times now, especially recently with someone thinking they've been eliminated and not. Obviously, you know, when it's done right, it looks good, but at this point you're just going, well, out of all the name talent there, you know, you're thinking, well, the Miz has probably got the biggest name. I keep counting him out because I still think the Miz is the Miz from a couple of years ago, and they've got a little bit of confidence with him now because I wrote him off at Hell in a Cell when he won Money in the Bank. And he won this one. Gable did look good, but obviously the Miz came out on top. Do you think the Miz is a right call? What do you think of the Miz and the direction they're going at the moment with him?
So I actually was really excited when sort of like asshole type Miz was coming back into things, because I thought like he's so much better as sort of like that pompous, arrogant wrestler that's just always spitting it on the mic, you know. However, this I feel like this sort of partnership with John Morrison is not really doing anything for either wrestler, and I think that both of them would actually be probably off better being in a singles competition. So I'm kind of ready for like there to be some sort of turning, whether it be Miz on John Morrison or Morrison on the Miz, and them start having their own singles runs, especially with the Miz having this Money in the Bank belt now. I don't really feel like they need to be kind of partnering up continuously.
No, you know, we need to see some dissension within the ranks, you know, of Morrison and Miz, you know, disapproving, or Morrison maybe getting a bit upset that the Miz is getting a bit of a limelight. I just hope Miz's Money in the Bank, just for the reason, so he cashes in on McIntyre, and then McIntyre can win in front of fans again. If they do it in that way, I'm more than happy. I can't see any other way I can't see like the Miz headlining WrestleMania, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely not. I still see it as I definitely think with the way that things go throughout the rest of the night, I think that they are setting it up so that we've got a Roman Reigns versus McIntyre at WrestleMania. So I don't see the Miz being a part of that picture, to be honest.
No, I don't think it, like I said, I've got no problem with the Miz, but there's a character that's been treated a certain way, and you can't turn him into kind of a serious threat after
Yeah.
this time.
Mm-hmm.
Prediction-wise on that, like I said, predictions after losing the last event to Select Match Pod and another guy, it was a 2-1 beatdown. It was unfair. We challenged both of them. Brandon Scans walked away because he was too scared. That's what I'm saying. And Select Match Pod accepted. Went for, like I said, he went Biggie, I went Otis, so neither of us got a point. We also do the polls on Twitter as well, and they went Team Raw for 57% of it, so I guess Miz gets the win there. Out of 5, I'm going to give that 2 3/4 out of 5 because it was just your bog standard battle royal, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely didn't manage to catch all of it. I only caught the very ending of it myself, as I wasn't aware of the timing change. So for me, I would just put it as a 2.5 as well, because it feels like a very similar ending to what we've had multiple times now for battle royales.
Yeah, and then we see Corbin and Billy Kay backstage, and then that is it for kickoff, and we move on to the opening promo of the main show. And I don't want to say it was standard, but it was pretty standard opening of, brand supremacy and this is what it means. And then we saw the Undertaker highlights on the end. Not a bad way to start the show, so to speak. But we talked about earlier, what was your excitement level for the event? What were you most looking forward to as we go on to the Survivor Series?
Oh, 100%. I was excited for this, and I think predominantly because of Sasha Banks versus Asuka. I've been waiting for that match, that dream match, for months now. So, and especially when we kind of got a preview of it, sort of a few months ago when Sasha briefly took the Raw Championship from Asuka, I was ready for that. Yeah, that was definitely the number one match I was looking out for.
Well, I think let's start the show then, and we start the show proper with the men's 5-on-5, and how we got it. Well, things hasn't been rosy on Raw. AJ wants to be the captain, but no one agrees. One of these things to talk about brand supremacy, though. You got Sheamus, Riddle, and AJ who are all on SmackDown before the draft, and Lee was on NXT, and now they're all fighting for Raw.
Oh, that's very true.
Just doesn't.
That's so strange. I didn't even think about that. They didn't really think this through. I feel like this was very last minute.
Well, when you consider like AJ Styles was like the SmackDown, like I said, the face that ran the place, to come over to Raw, and you're thinking, oh, okay. But why would they care? But maybe it's the kind of thing of we thought it was going to go one way. This was Sheamus's 10th appearance. Ashton and Roman Reigns in 2015. Braun Strowman has the joint most eliminations as Survivor Series. AJ faced Brock Lesnar in 2017 in one of probably the best matches in Survivor Series history.
Yeah, it was actually.
And then we start off, and Rollins has not moved. That's the one note I made at the beginning of this match, that he did not move at all.
Nope. And he just made it very. It was very obvious to me, I think, as well as to a lot of other people on Twitter, that he either didn't want to be there or he didn't want to kind of be involved in the match, even though he was there in the match. So It was really strange, to be honest.
I've had friends like that when we've gone for nights out, and when I see someone like that, I think, no, you obviously don't want to be here, so it's going to be time to go soon. Like we said, Team Raw had AJ Styles, Braun Strowman, Sheamus, Riddle, and Keith Lee taking on Team SmackDown, Jey Uso, Otis, King Corbin, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins. I do love Kevin Owens, that's fair enough. But the first drama of the night came when Rollins demanded to be tagged in and sacrificed himself. He said to Sheamus, do you think this has got any other meaning to it rather than him just wanting to take some time off and this being a way of delivering it? Or do you think when he comes back, this will actually mean something?
I don't think it necessarily means something in terms of him returning and coming back with an explanation as to why he decided to make himself a martyr. But I think that there was a definite talk about, issues of him sort of like being sort of in the same match as Riddle, because I know they've had their own issues. And I just can't help but feel like they were just using his sort of name to be part of the team, sort of more for propaganda. And then we're just like, okay, and then we'll just like, write you out straight away. And that could be you off to go and spend your time with Becky and have some time off, which is absolutely fine and it's absolutely fair enough. The main issue that I had with the way that Seth just happily sacrificed himself for God knows what reason, is I heard that there were other people considered for that spot, and I feel like we would have had even though it was a great match altogether, we would have still had a much better match had it been the likes of either Big E or Sheamus or Cesaro, sorry, or even Shinsuke Nakamura as part of the team. I just really feel like there was no real reason as to why Seth needed to be on the team.
To be fair, I was shocked by how the match played out, and like kind of with the Rollins involved and maybe having someone else there. But again, as the story, like I said, as the night went on, you thought, oh, at least there's a kind of reason for it. But the whole Rollins thing, I was just like, oh, okay, they're never going to explain that. We saw Otis and Lee in the Battle of Super Heavyweights. They exchanged the superhuman feats of strength before Lee tagged Strowman into the match. The Monks were among men and corked a shotgun dropkick on Otis and tagged Styles. Styles knowing quicker to pace until the fired up KO unloaded with stunners to the rest of Team Raw. And then Styles seed the opening and delivered a phenomenal forearm, eliminating Kevin Owens. And I was like, oh, that's Kevin Owens then. Is that what he's getting in this match? All right, fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only part that I took away from that whole part that you just kind of briefly talked about then was I did not realize how much I really would love to see Keith Lee versus Otis, like in a one-on-one. Like, I think those two would actually be amazing in the ring if you just let them do their thing. But I think that they could actually make a gold in that match.
I just want to see them both hit the Irish Whip with each other in the center of the ring. I think the collision there would be something else, We then see the action breaking down and Riddle pin Corbin to send him to the locker room. So Corbin was eliminated. And then Otis exploded into the match, suplexing and clotheslining his way through the competition before coming face to face with Strowman. Strowman flattered him with a big boot, but Otis recovered and delivered the Caterpillar. He set up for the Vader Bomb, but Riddle ran interference and Strowman power slammed him for the fall. And at this point, it was just Jey Uso by himself. Desperate Uso unloaded on the competition, wiping him out with a dive at ringside. He followed up with super kicks to on the side, including one that left Styles hung up on the ropes. But a blind tag saw Lee hit the Spirit Bomb for the clean sweep on Uso. What were your thoughts on the match?
So, I mean, I kind of really wanted to root for Jey, but I also knew Jey was kind of screwed at this point, 1-on-5. And I thought it was a pretty far-fetched, like, when you're watching Kofi Kingston in that gauntlet match and wondering whether or not he can do it. But Jey Uso taking on 5 men from Raw, including like Strowman as a powerhouse. I didn't have much faith. But I think he gave it his all. And I think the main thing I took out from that match was I was terrified to see the reaction of Roman Reigns towards Jey for not winning. So that was my main thing that I took from it.
And it was, I don't think anyone does multi-man matches as well as WWE does when it comes to, like I said, multi-tag and 6 men. I know a lot of AEW fans will argue, but I think when it comes to like a Survivor Series match, WWE know what they're doing. It did tell a story. Like I said, Uso did try his best. All the unrest and a clean sweep from Raw, so that was a little bit of storytelling they were doing. Like I said, a bit disappointing with what happened with Kevin Owens. But like in the night, and what would Roman Reigns' reaction be played into what happened there. So I've got no problem with the pay-per-view actually telling the story as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Prediction-wise, select match pod went Raw. I went SmackDown. So at that point, it was 5-1. I'm going, Jey can do this. We can... It's not over yet.
I feel like I was the same, except for I was more with a question mark. So it was more like, Jey can do this.
And then Jey can't do it. But anyway, 1-0 to select match pod. Poll results 58% went Team Raw as well. What was your score out of 5 for that match?
So overall, I actually put it as a 4. I thought it was still really good, even though the beginning of the match sort of disappointed me with the Seth Rollins thing. Overall, I felt like all of the men in the match performed really well.
I'm going to give that a 3 because I was slightly disappointed that it was a clean sweep, but I would have probably added like another half a mark to that if I'd have known what was happening the rest of the night. Talk about the rest of the night. Our next match was the Street Profits versus the New Day. Well, how did we get here? Well, this is old versus New Day. The Exchange Championships, the Raw and SmackDown titles were swapped backstage after each had been drafted across. And we saw a great entrance from New Days with the Gears of War. And we saw a hell of a promo by the Street Profits. What were your thoughts on the build-up?
I think the whole build-up, even before the match started, was very exciting. I mean, seeing the New Day come out in their gear, not only that, but hearing Big E opening for the New Day was just something really heartfelt and probably nostalgic for a lot of New Day fans who really just kind of do miss that little bit of an opening when it comes to the whole group coming out. And it was just amazing to see them in their Gears 5. I mean, I wish I had an Xbox just so that I can play that game. So, I mean, I'm strongly considering it just for them. But as well, like you said, the Street Profits cut a really great promo just before, and I was super excited to see this match come off.
Yeah, no, that really got me pumped because it's one of those matches you're thinking, well, does it really mean anything? And both teams added something, and like the story throughout was kind of like the New Day of the veterans kind of being a little bit surprised about, you know, how tough the Street Profits were, and vice versa with the younger guys going, oh, the New Day are tough because they've been around for so long. If you were going to pick between the tag team divisions, Raw or SmackDown, which one would you favour at this moment in time?
I would have gone with Raw. I would have gone with the New Day, to be honest. Like, as you said, veterans in their own right, and you know, as much as I feel like Street Profits are definitely on a roll, at the time of watching it, I felt that they may have underestimated whether or not they could get it done. So just like the New Day, I was pleasantly surprised by the outcome of the match as well, but in a good way.
Yeah, I think we have to. We'll go into the action in a second. I always remember the New Day versus the Shield 2017 when these two three-man groups went at it. What a match.
That was such a great match.
And Kofi's first Survivor Series was 2008 as part of Team Batista getting eliminated by Team Orton. I forget Kofi's been around for as well. It's quite something.
Yeah, he's had a long tenure as well, which is another reason why I want him to still kind of be floating around the singles aspect of things at some point again as well, as I feel like his championship reign came too short.
Well, we started off the match with a fun-loving exchange between each team, and then we saw the battle kind of increase. And what I liked about it as well, right at the start, was Dawkins and Woods. And they'd known each other for over a decade back in NXT, but had never actually faced off until that moment. And you can actually see Dawkins being really excited. I think the Street Profits are excited because they're going, here's a team we've respected for so many years, and now we're going to show what level we're on, you know. And they did. The New Day targeted the midsection of Ford, working them over while cutting the ring off. Corey Graves put over the aggression shown by Kingston and Woods just in time for Ford to create some separation and tag Dawkins in. The biggest competitor of the match in his power advantage to toss Kingston around to deliver an underhook neckbreaker to Woods. The SmackDown champs fired off a flurry of offense, but New Day fought back and delivered Midnight Hour, but Ford managed to get the shoulder up. Later on, Dawkins down Kingston and Ford delivered a frog splash. That frog splash, the height that he gets,
oh my gosh,
it's so impressive.
It's on another level, isn't it? It really is. Like, honestly, this man flies. He really flies.
I've never known anybody has the trajectory. Like, it is incredible. And
honestly, he's turned that frog splash really into his own move, and like, I really commend him for it, because you know there is a lot of legends that actually use that move, and they really had made it their own. But he's actually made this his own as well, and it's an amazing move to just actually watch in person. I'd love to have seen that live.
Well, what I liked about it as well is his previous injured ribs cost to try and make the pin as well. Allowed to get his shoulder up. And then Ford unleashed Kingston's own Trouble in Paradise against him. Woods followed with a gutbuster for it. That was a great near fall towards the end. And then the finish came when Dawkins blindly tagged in and hoisted Woods up on his shoulders. Thor came off with a blockbuster for a hard-fought victory. What did you think of the match?
I mean, from beginning to end, it was exciting. It was just, so highlighting. It was just high fly moves constantly. You could hardly take your eyes off the screen without, something big happening. And I just really felt sort of like the chemistry between these two guys. And as you said, it's been a long time coming for them to be facing off. And I think that the audience at home also felt that. So this, for me, was a great match.
Yeah, I've actually got one of my notes. Just a great match. The right result with the newer team getting the victory. New Day lose, nothing can defeat. And just imagine a rivalry between these two teams as well if it works out,
Definitely. I mean, I wouldn't actually complain about seeing them face off again further down the line. It would be an amazing match.
Yeah, without a doubt. It just, when you click like that, then yeah, like I said, I'll watch it all day long. Prediction wise, I did go to Profits and Select Match Pod went New Day, so it's 1-1 now with predictions. Poll results. Street Profits got 58% of the vote. What was your score out of 5 for that match?
I actually am giving it a 5. I think, when it comes to presentation as well as, their entrances and them coming out in their overall performance, it was flawless for me.
And this is the thing about WWE. And like I said, this podcast has been going since 2015. And so many times people just, have a go at wrestling or WWE specifically with the Raw or SmackDown programs. But they deliver, and everybody going, AEW is like the kind of tag team specialist, and then they delivered a match like this in the middle of the start of a card, and I don't think people realised how good it was, in that way.
Agreed. I mean, I'm one of those people that do watch AEW, but I appreciate both brands because I feel like they both have their strengths and weaknesses. And I actually was on Twitter whilst Survivor Series was on, and just to see Cash Wheeler from FTR even tweet about the New Day's match, that goes to show you that there's just an overall respect within the tag team division. And as you said, this was just one of those really great performances that you can't fault.
I think without a doubt. All right, we'll move on to match 4, and it's Sami Zayn versus Lashley.
What was your score? I didn't hear your score.
Oh, sorry. I gave that a 4.5 out of 5. Cool. If it was for a tag team championship, then that probably would have given a 5 for me there.
Yeah.
Especially with a match where I'm going, this should be a good match, but I was like, this is a great match. So when that happens, then fair play. I said, after the scores there, we'll move on to the next one, and it is Sami Zayn versus Bobby Lashley. How we got here? Well, it's Intercontinental Champion versus United States Championship. But what's the better title? Is it the Intercontinental or the United States?
That was a good question. I mean, you've got two complete different personalities on either end of those belts, don't you?
I think so. I think for me personally, the Intercontinental title would be more prestigious, just because I know Pat Patterson didn't win it in a steamy night in Rio de Janeiro, but as a WWE fan throughout the years, don't get me wrong, I know the US title's been held by Harley Race and people like that, but their world title was held by David Arquette, so I'm not really, And I think being, I don't know if it's just because British or English, but Intercontinental title is States in a way.
Yeah. I guarantee that. I think a lot of the reign from the Intercontinental, of those who held the belt, I feel like their reign were a lot more memorable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think even recent times as well. The John Cena Open Challenge for the US titles has been good. But you really, I think both mid-card titles have been lacking. It's been like in Bobby Lashley's. What have you thought of Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Locker in recent times as well?
I am liking them more and more. I think that as a faction, they're really good. It's unfortunate that I feel like there's just been some really bad spots of writing, not just necessarily for them, but for their kind of sort of on and off again feud with Retribution. And I don't think it's necessarily their fault, but I do feel like the likes of Bobby Lashley needs to be sort of like going for higher he should be considered a lot more higher, I think, and within the title picture, in my opinion. So having the US belt on him right now, I don't feel is doing him much justice, because I feel like it's just preventing him from being even better than what he is right now.
Yeah, I would agree, but I do like Cedric Alexander joining, and if they can get the tag team, we've seen some good matches with the New Day recently.
I've got a bit of a weak spot for Shelton Benjamin. I was a huge fan of both him and Charlie Haas back in the day when they were Kurt Angle's Team Angle tag team. I was a huge fan of them. So seeing him and Cedric Alexander potentially teaming up for a tag team title run, for me, it's quite exciting. So I think that there is exciting things to come from the Hurt Business, but I just hope that Bobby Lashley's not kept in the US title picture too long. I think he should be aiming higher.
Yeah, I think they either get another member to grab the title or let MVP have it. Do you know what I mean? One or the other, I think it makes sense. As for the match, well, Lashley dominated early, punishing Zayn with his power, while his stablemates prevent the SmackDown star from escaping. And citing the same vertigo he suffered at the hands of Lashley 2 years ago, Zayn begged off and delivered a cheap roll-up too. Again, to call that back is well done for
that
WWE.
That was really good. The continuity there, I was very impressed that they even mentioned that.
And it just shows you what a heel Sami Zayn is to try and do that. And even when he was saying, everybody's, as he goes outside and the whole Hurt Business is there, and he's saying, no, this is unfair. You can kind of understand a little bit as well, which is, I think, helps out in a weird way.
I'm very impressed that he was able to actually stay in the match more than 60 seconds. I must admit, I'm very impressed.
Well, yeah, I mean, he sought to hit the Helluva kick, but Lashley grabs hold of him and then hit the spine buster. Zayn tried to escape, but MVP tripped him, rolling back in the ring, where Lashley applied the Hurt Lock for the submission victory. What were your thoughts on that one?
That move is just devastating, isn't it? It just looks absolutely painful. I would not even want to pretend to try and be in a lock like that by Bobby Lashley. So, I wasn't surprised of the outcome, but I was surprised at how good a fight that Sami gave whilst he had the chance.
I mean, this was a long squash. This is basically Zayn.
Yeah.
Trying to stop the inevitable. We know what's going to happen. But I do love Zayn. I mean, Sami Zayn, when we first saw him in NXT as the face, and he was such a great character, and I never thought he'd work as a heel, but I think the heel might be, if not better than the face, because he's just the thing is, he can lose this match and just complain about, well, I got vertigo, the Hurt Business were there, and get away with it. He doesn't lose anything in defeat.
He's so good on mic as well that he genuinely could sort of talk you over that loss, and it would just be forgotten about because of all of the issues that he's now bringing up. So he's got that magic talk on the mic.
And I think we'll hear that on SmackDown. Prediction wise, Select Match Pod and I both went Lashley, so we both get points. So it's 2-2. Poll results.
It's getting intense now.
It is getting close. Lashley, 71% of the poll for him. Not really much of a surprise. Yeah. What was your score out of 5? What was your score?
I gave it a 3. I mean, I think I gave it a 3, and that's being really nice. And I feel like that predominantly was because Sami didn't get squashed within the first 30 seconds. So I was quite impressed with that. But overall, I do see, like you said, where Sami could even come in and say, having all of the Hurt Business down there was very intimidating and things. I think, obviously, if there had been someone else that was in the title picture at the time, that we might have had a even better match. But Sami gave his best.
Well, I think for calling vertigo during the match, I'm going to give that a 3 1/4. Fair play to that one. Up next, we see Usos getting talked down by Roman, and he tells Jay to stay and tells Jimmy to go. They said they don't respect or fear you, which means they don't respect or fear the family. There is no place at the table for failure. There is no time for losers. And he told them to get away. Yeah. I mean, Roman Reigns is, I never thought I'd say this, but he's just the coolest at the moment, isn't he?
He
He's
really
like
is.
everything he
He
does.
actually is. And I'm not going to lie, I'm speaking from being a twin myself and having an older sibling. When the camera panned in to seeing the Usos just stood there waiting for Roman and seeing Roman coming out, I had major flashbacks of the amount of times my older sister is coming in to give us some sort of disappointed talk. And I'm just like, I'm sweating for the Usos, you know? So at this point, I'm just really like, please don't kick them out the family.
And after what happened in the first match, and you're going, well, yes, that makes sense. And now Roman's saying all this, and you're going, oh, Jesus. Like, Jay, you're in a bit of trouble here, mate. Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it played out later on as well. But we'll get on to that, because up next, it's the dream match we've all been waiting for. It is Asuka versus Sasha Banks. How do we get here? Well, apart from Bayley, Asuka and Banks have been the main rival of this year. I was going to ask you Banks or Asuka, but I think I know the answer. Why is this so important to the women's division for you?
So I think that both Asuka and Sasha have become very strong female icons for the women's division, especially since the departure of both Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. But even alongside them as well, holding their own. And I think, with Asuka being a working mother, with Sasha being a career-driven woman who has been in season 2 of The Mandalorian, as well as recording an album, as well as, coming back and managing to succeed in getting the women's title. I think both these two women have so much potential to pull off the greatest of matches that could be WrestleMania moments. And even though this wasn't a WrestleMania, I feel like this match was just something on a whole nother level. We got a preview of them when we saw the sort of brief title change between Asuka and Sasha. So I feel like there was a lot of us that were really waiting for this rivalry to be picked back up.
I think without doubt, I think with Sasha Banks, I've always said it for a long time that she kind of wrestled like a man. And what I meant by that back in the day with the Diva style, there came along Sasha Banks, who you would hold her offense up against anybody. And then when Asuka arrived, and you're going, wait a minute, there's someone else there. And now since then, I still say the women's division, WWE and NXT, the character for each wrestler has got a kind of a meaning and a reason, whereas the men roster hasn't. And I think with Asuka and Banks, you've got two there with the boss character and what Sasha can do. And Asuka, I don't think Asuka gets a fair crack of the whip, because they know how good she is, and they can go, I tell you what we'll do. We'll put the title on you, but we're not going to give you any kind of direction, so to speak, and she'll make it work. And I think, since losing Becky Lynch, since losing Charlotte, I think Asuka and Banks have benefited the most. And to be fair, and this might start a massive argument, I would probably take Banks and Asuka, wrestling-wise and everything like that, over a Charlotte and a Lynch. But that's just
me. Do you know what? I think that I'm probably going to get hated for saying this, but I actually agree with you on that. And I don't think that that's any disrespect to Charlotte and Becky for what they've actually done in the ring, because they've done great. But with this sort of, like you said, opportunity for both Sasha and Asuka to shine, I feel like they have just brought about a little bit more of a change within the women's division. Like, you see a lot more women hungry for it, and fighting to sort of get that recognition, not just from the likes of us as the audience, but of those of the other wrestlers. And I think that Asuka and Sasha have done really well to actually bring that out of the women's division.
I think without a doubt. And the thing is about the women's division as well is I probably get more excited for it than I do most other things, because when it's done right as well, and this had that kind of big fight film, because of that I'm going to give it the tail of the tape. And Sasha Banks, calls 5'5", is the boss from Boston, Massachusetts. She's a Grand Slam champion, and of course the finish is a Bank statement. Asuka, 5'3", the Empress of Tomorrow from Osaka, Japan, not only Grand Slam champ but the Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank winner as well. She's never been pinned by Sasha Banks. This was their third time on pay-per-view. Again, what a build-up. Let's get into the action. We see early chain wrestling, net even woman, a sustainable advantage as reversals and counters reign supreme. Asuka applied an ankle lock, booted Banks in the midsection and delivered a running kick to the face. Asuka delivered a hip toss into the knee to the face, but Shining Wizard attempt missed and Banks tried for the Bank statement. Asuka fought it and Banks settled for a modified abdominal stretch made famous by Wilbur Schneider back in 1930s. Then the Octopus said, at this point in time during the match, the chemistry is just off the charts between the two, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, again, I think it's what I said before with the New Day and Street Profits match. It was very much so you can't take your eyes off the screen because of, very early on in the match, they are matching each other blow for blow, and you're just kind of itching to see which one is actually going to get the first advantage, because of this is where like things will start to change in the ring. It was really exciting to kind of see the exchange between the two.
Till the action spilling to the floor where Oscar answered the bosses. Meteora attempt with a code breaker, and back inside they traded quick pinfalls, but neither could get it. Banks finally executed Meteora in the corner, but a frog splash failed to land. Banks countered a double knee into a Bank statement. Oscar fought into an Oscar lock. A second code breaker earned Oscar a 2 count. A series of near falls ensured drama built. Oscar delivered a big kick to the face, but Banks recovered and answered with a modified roll for the win. Now, before we get on to Fulks, I did think maybe Carmella would come out and cost Banks or something like this. But when Banks got the victory, I was pleasantly surprised. And like I said, first time of pinning Oscar. What were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, so I was really worried getting towards the end of the match whether or not we would either see the likes of even Bayley or Carmella coming out. And I just kind of wanted this as a clean finish because I feel like, ever since she's won the title, so far she's just continuously been interrupted. So this was one match that I really just wanted to be clean. So, I mean, I obviously can't say that I was happy with Sasha winning over my girl, Asuka. However, I was very shocked at the way that, she was able to get her in that roll-up pin. So I think it came as a pleasant surprise to everyone that there was no rude interruptions. And for me, I was actually just kind of still happy with that, with the ending of it as well.
Well, the thing is I've talked about a lot to not really losing anything in defeat, so to speak, like Sami Zayn and New Day. And again, with Oscar, I think Banks maybe needed the victory a little bit more because, like I said, with Oscar, they're not really doing anything with her. And if you were going to say who's the next challenger for Oscar, it's kind of a crapshoot, if you know what I mean.
Well, we'll probably get into more of my discussion of what I kind of could see happening with Oscar come the future once we get to another match. But I definitely think that I agree with you that I feel like Sasha did really need the win to kind of solidify the fact that she can hold a belt and she can hold like a division. And so that's what she needed to solidify shortly after feuding with Bayley.
Well, weirdly enough, last time we both did a podcast together, we were watching Oscar versus Zelina Vega. And of course, what's happened with Vega since then of walking out, getting fired because she doesn't want to give her account. Apparently, she was making more money through OnlyFans in WWE anyway, which is incredible when you think about it. What are your thoughts on Vega? Because I knew you were a huge fan last time.
Yeah. So I am a huge fan of her still. I am a Twitch streamer myself, and it's the same as my Instagram name, just JaxieScarlett. And I am a fan of Thea, who is Zelina Vega on Twitch. So I'll continue to support her, but I was very disappointed with how the company handled her departure. And I just, I wish her the best. And I know that she's got so much running for her. And I feel like that's why there doesn't need to be a much bigger deal made about it, because she was already successful without the need of WWE, and she will continue to be successful. So I just hope that we're not going to see Aleister Black go through like 9 tables because of this or anything like that.
Well, he's already requested NXT, and that's not happened. But I think with what they've done with Aleister Black on the main roster since then, hasn't been great. But back to the match in hand, prediction-wise, Select Match Pod and I both went for Oscar, so it's still 2-2. Both got it wrong. Poll-wise, 50-50 on the poll. So even that's the first time we've done a poll on Twitter where they just couldn't decide.
No, I think it really was a 50-50 booking for it, really, going into it. But like, as we just sort of highlighted, both women are so strong. It's really hard to kind of guess who really could actually have the outcome. But I mean, overall for me, I'm going to have to give it a 5 out of 5. It was my favorite match of the night. Shortly just kind of caught up over the New Day Street Profits match. But yeah, it was really, really great match for me.
Right, and then we see highlights of the pre-show. Of course, the gobbledygooker is on the run, but then he found some bird scenes. But that was a trap by Tozawa. We have a new champion, but then the truth attacks. He's champ again for the 45th time.
Wow.
There's not much that can be said about that, really, is there?
Not really, no. I mean, as long as he won it back from the turkey, I think that's all that matters, really, isn't it?
Well, apparently it was Drew Gulak under the gobbledygooker.
Oh, yeah, and then he won it against Drew Gulak, right?
Yeah, so.
Gosh.
But we'll move on, and our next match was the women's elimination match. And how we got here? Well, you've just mentioned it. Lana 9 times. Lana 9 times.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this?
I mean, so I think it's a bit difficult because I'm not a fan of how they came across, how this whole Survivor Series portrayed Lana. I feel like she was really bullied in sort of the promos of the Survivor Series that weren't necessarily needed. However, as we'll go into it, the match itself is really good. So I've not got an overall issue with it. But yeah, I mean, Lana needs to be given a break at this point.
I think we're out of doubt. And I should say my score for the Oscar Banks match was 4 1/4. If I didn't give that one.
Okay.
With the Lana things, it's a bit weird because, like I said, they're saying it's not because of what happened with Ruth. You kind of think to yourself, it might have been. Her Chronicle, though, on the WWE Network was fascinating. She talked about a lot of mental health issues.
Was.
You know.
It kind of like, I think I like to think that everyone who watched it probably got a lot more of a human side of Lana out that doesn't get to be portrayed within WWE or her character in WWE, and I think probably that didn't help from me watching that and then like kind of going into this pay-per-view and seeing kind of the way that they spoke to her or isolated her. So yeah, I mean, I think that her Chronicle is amazing. Everyone should go and watch it if they haven't seen it yet. It's really good. But overall, the match itself was great, and that is because of the covering story that kind of came with it, I suppose.
Yeah, without doubt. Well, we have Team Raw, which is Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Lana, Lacey Evans, Peyton Royce. They battle Natalya, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Bayley, and Bianca Belair. But one thing about Natalya, give her a bit of respect. No woman has had more eliminations at Survivor Series history. No woman has had more pay-per-views or wins. And this is her 7th Survivor Series match. So overall, with all the women that's ever wrestled in WWE, she's had more pay-per-view matches and more victories. Does Natalya deserve more respect? If she was a 4 horsewoman, would she be on the kind of Mount Rushmore, so to speak?
I do think, if she was part of the horsewomen, she would be elevated higher. I do think that she should actually be elevated higher with how much of a veteran she already is in her own right. I guess the only issue is that personality-wise, it's just not always come through yet, and I don't think that's necessarily always her fault. I feel like that she's not had the right promos. Certain storylines haven't really helped her and made her come across as sort of jokey rather than to be taken serious. And I mean, I've just got to actually say a shout out for Natalya's costume for Survivor Series. She's always in pink, as she's the Queen of Hearts, but I really loved her outfit for sort of Team SmackDown, seeing her all in blue. She actually stood out on the team for me, and I think she did really well.
Well, this is the thing. They always, WWE always get rid of their stock of Raw and SmackDown t-shirts, don't they, during the Survivor Series event? And I like the fact that with the women's team, apart from Bayley, it was just like blue versus red outfits as opposed to Raw versus SmackDown tops, which I think the men sometimes just go, do you know what, we're just going to put a top on and so be it.
Yeah.
But we saw a filling out process to start, and then early Jax sought to dominate, only for Lana to tag herself in, and after some spirited action on the part of the Ravishing Russian, she tagged Royce into the match, proceeded to be berated and degraded and told to stand on the stairs. Be a star, WWE.
That annoyed me a little bit, that whole little scene right there. I mean, in terms of like telling the story, I felt like we didn't need to go that far when it came to sort of the whole sort of Lana thing, the way they sort of like are telling her where to stand and not making her feel part of the team. It's just kind of not, it wasn't as necessary to highlight, in my opinion. That being said, can I just also give a shout out to Shayna Baszler dressed in red? She looked absolutely amazing in that red outfit.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. And then we see the former iconic Snake Eyes from Belair. Great strength from that. I mean, Belair is just, I mean, I'm going to go on about her in a little bit, but it's just so much that she's got and makes it look easy as well. We see a top right elbow drop from Bayley, but Evans made the same. Royce delivered a suplex on the top rope, driving Bayley into a pile of bodies on the floor. Again, I quite like this bump on the outside. Very dangerous for Bayley to take it, and it all came down like a pack of dominoes.
Yeah. I was definitely shocked to see that move come from Peyton Royce, and was, genuinely hoping Bayley was okay. But it was really impressive to see that sort of level of strength and everything come from the women.
Without a doubt, then it was really shocking. Royce delivered the deja vu to Bayley to eliminate her. So the team captain is gone, clean as a whistle. Were you surprised she went so early on, especially to Peyton Royce?
Yeah. Yes. I've got to admit that is probably the biggest sort of shock upset that came from me, because I'm a huge I love Bayley. I love this version of Bayley. She's just great, just constantly with the captain and trying to like talk. She's great. I did not see, out of all of the women on the Raw team, that it was going to be Peyton Royce that eliminated her. So I'm pleasantly shocked by this, but I'm also questioning what they're going to be doing with Bayley from this point.
Yeah. This is the thing. I mean, she's not in the title picture. Then, if unless you're Charlotte, you don't really have another match in the women's division at that point in time.
Yeah.
But Royce continued her role, unloading a flurry of offense on Natalya and putting her down for 2 after exchange for a botch or 2. Natalya applied the sharpshooter for the first Raw elimination. It wasn't pretty, but I suppose it was effective. Evans missed a springboard moonsault. Natalya tried for the sharpshooter. She took her eyes off Evans just long enough for the Sassy Southern Belle to deliver the woman's right for the pinfall and eliminate Natalya. I do like Evans' women's right. There's not that many moves in the women's division where you can just end it like that. And I think with the women's right, you don't have to be in a position.
I think she executes it quite well. And every time that it's used is actually done in a real sort of impactful way that makes you think, yeah, right, that's it, she's out for the count. It's one of those moves that I genuinely think is a finisher move.
I think without a doubt. And then we see Blair entering and powering Evans down. Distraction by Baszler allowed Evans to recover and deliver a super Spanish fly, but only for 2. Again, credit for Evans and Blair to go to the top and hit that Spanish fly. It's not the easiest move to hit, and they hit it to perfection as well.
They did.
And then we see the Riot Squad partners take the fight to Jax, rekindling their rivalry with the women's tag team champion. Riot, that's 2 T's, rock Jax with a right kick, forcing her to tag Baszler back in the match. Baszler applied a trademark clutch, despite Riot countering to a pinfall, eventually put her away. Riot was eliminated. I say that. The referee was kind of distracted, and then by the time, because obviously they had the submission and Riot went for the pin, it didn't kind of look that right, but...
No, but I mean, technically, if the ref had been paying attention, then Shayna would have been counted out. So it was a bit confusing, that part. But I mean, I felt like both Liv and Ruby gave it their all in that match, and especially against Nia Jax, they held their own quite well.
I think without doubt, you see Morgan responding to her partner's elimination, delivered a crucifix bomb for Evans for the elimination. So Lacey Evans was eliminated, and at least Live something in this match. The New Jersey native onslaught came to Southern Holt and a recovering end of a smoke drop by Jax, who sent her packing, so that's Morgan gone. And then Blair, really impressed, looking to keep SmackDown's hope alive as she laid Jax out at ringside. Unfortunately, she springboarded her way right into Baszler's grasp. She powered her way to her feet and stumbled to the ropes. And when Baszler refused to break the hold, she was disqualified. Now, this is where it kind of broke down for me. I was really, really enjoying this match up until the disqualification. The new count. Well, for me, it was just like, I was really enjoying it. And then the disqualification, you're thinking, well, Baszler didn't need to do that. Why didn't Blair just kind of put her away? And then we see
See,
Blair and Jax.
I thought that was probably like a smart booking on their end, but when it comes to Shayna Baszler, only because I do see a real good feud happening between Shayna Baszler and Asuka, and I think it would be absolutely magic once we get, her out of the tag team title picture with Nia Jax. But I see Shayna being real potential there, and especially with how dominating they made her look at the very beginning of the year. I think it was Elimination Chamber where she was really dominating. I'm really glad they didn't actually have anyone pin her. So that was probably the one thing about this match that I wasn't mad at. Is what followed after that started to.
Well, this is the thing. It went downhill from that because you had disqualification, and you're thinking, well, Belair could have maybe got the victory, and then we see Belair outside. And they know the referee's counting because they can see it. I'm sure as hell. We see Blair, Blair backdropping Jax over the barricade and messing the rest of the referee's 10 count. And then Lana is a sole survivor on the steel stairs.
It was missed by a slither, It was missed by a slither. Like she went in, and I feel like it was really petty on the ref. I feel like the ref waited until she was in the ring to then turn his back and say, bring the bell, and so that was the part that did annoy me, because as much as I actually laughed and was happy for Lana to be making the win, I would have actually been more happier, and I feel like the better outcome, especially if they want to kind of keep building on sort of Lana being a face instead of a heel sort of character, they should have gone with it differently, which is have it so that it was just Bianca and Lana left. And Lana decided, I'm just gonna walk out of this and get counted out as well because I don't like my team. Why am I going to fight for my team? That sort of thing, and actually let Bianca get the win that way, because Bianca really was the MVP of that match, and them counting her out really just overshadowed all of what she just did. And so I was very annoyed by the ending of that match.
I don't usually, I can't tell. No, usually I do fantasy booking. But if you would do fantasy booking for me, the disqualification, Baszler, like Kirifuda clutch, whatever it is, have her and Jax, Belair throws Jax or Jax goes to double team, accidentally wipes out Baszler, Belair pins her like that, managing to power up Jax and put her away. And then she's looking at Lana as like the last one and going, well, this is easy. Goes for a finisher, and then Lana gets the fluke victory, and at least Lana's actually won something then and proven to people, she can get the win, because all this proves at this moment in time is that to listen to Nia Jax. If she hadn't have been belittled and berated and stood there and did what she was told, then she would have been out of the match already. So the moral of the story is listen to your bully, I guess it would be.
Well, I mean, basically, that's what they're saying with it. Now, I'm kind of glad she got the win so that she can. It's kind of a slap in the face for Nia Jax, who just was berating her for so much. But I think if we go back to what Survivor Series originally is about, a real sort of brand versus brand, I just felt like it was a very disappointing ending to what was a really good match.
Yeah, like I say, I was really, really digging it up until, like I said, disqualification. And then as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, no. And then it just happened. And then I was saying, oh, they are not it's like the thing with voting. Helping them out at this moment in time, are they? They're just, and it's just kind of the same thing that's going to happen. But like I said, Belair was the MVP in that one. Just looked fantastic, didn't she?
She did. I mean, if she doesn't look to get a push soon, then I think that WWE are just really sitting on gold with her. She could potentially be, sort of one of the faces of the future. So they really need to do stuff with her because they've given us her promos and she executes them well. Now she came to the Royal Rumble, she executed that well. She became the MVP of the Royal Rumble. Then she's come to Survivor Series and dominated, and she's just not being given that recognition, and she actually should be, because the audience are seeing it. It's just sort of the company.
I think without a doubt, and I think this is the thing when you look at potential, when even talent. Bayley, I love Bayley. She's fantastic. Baszler's had a moment. But Belair, there is just star power in that. And you're going, just harness that. And you can use her for the next, 10, 15, 20 years as a real star,
Exactly. Do you know what? I think that she kind of very much reminds me of China in her move set and her skill set. She's a real powerhouse, and I feel like that needs to kind of come across more, because of she is exactly that, and she could be so great. She could be one of those women where China used to go for even China went for the Intercontinental title and actually had matches with men, and Bianca is one of those women that could do it all.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I've always said many a time, especially Oscar during the time as NXT champion, would have beat 75% of the male roster. And I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah,
You know, you can't fight the Oscar lock off. Anyway, predictions for that. WNR, we went Raw. Select Match Pod went SmackDown, so we take a 3-2 lead heading into the last match.
Ooh.
And then the poll. SmackDown got the poll 58%. So not only did I beat Select Match Pod, I beat all you people voting on it as well. So
that is very true. I mean, I definitely thought that SmackDown were going to win this. I thought they would have had, like a stronger sort of group put together that like wanted to work together, So again, very shocked at the outcome of it being Team Raw again.
Well, I actually went Lana Soul Survivor as well.
Did you? Oh my gosh, you had this one worked out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, oh, they are going to do it this way then. It's a bit of a shame, really. But what was your score out of 5 for this matchup?
Okay, so I gave this one a 4. I think that was the best I could do with it, really, because that ending really irked me. So I think I did. I gave it quite a nice rating, to be honest.
Yeah, no, 4. I'll give it a 4 as well, because let's forget about that finish and hopefully we can move on from that. And then after that we get TLC. We know it's coming December 20th. And the question is with TLC, are you up for coming back on the WNR podcast for Tables, Ladders and Chairs?
Oh, really?
I'll put you on the spot right now. Yeah.
Yes, I would definitely love to do TLC. I'd be happy to do that.
Well, there we go. It's official. I can't take it back.
Awesome. Just remember you said that too, though.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Well, let's see what happens with predictions. You know how happy I will be. We'll move on to our main event, and it is Drew McIntyre, the WWE champion, going against Universal Champion Roman Reigns. How did we get here? Well, Drew showed up on SmackDown to tell Roman that he was gunning for him. Roman said to him, you need to get a title. Well, Raw, he beat Orton for the WWE Championship to face the Tribal Chief. We saw the contract signing, which I really, really enjoyed. And I love McIntyre saying, the next couple of days, use the peace because we're going to war, basically. What have you thought of the build-up and towards this main event?
I was actually really, really pleased in sort of the upcoming weeks, like prior to that, like seeing Drew actually, even though, they threw this whole invitational and only a couple times a year can people go across brands. I actually enjoyed Drew coming out and kind of spitting all that talk on the mic and then following through with the win on Raw to actually show. So that was building real story there, not just for Roman and everything that's going on with him and Jay and everything on SmackDown, but also for Drew. And they're just two powerhouses. So I actually was just really excited to see these two get in the ring.
I think there's not been a match that I weren't sure about. Just the general excitement level of going, well, I think Roman's going to win, but the way they've built up Drew so much recently, and I don't think there's been a kind of main event match where you go, well, these two guys are near enough equal at this moment in time. Who would you pick if you were going to pick Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns? You had to pick one to be your head of your roster. Who are you going for?
It's got to be the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. I mean, just talking from myself, I do have a bit of a crush on Roman Reigns, so I wouldn't be able to help it. So, yeah, I'd choose him as my Tribal Chief.
Well, luckily, I have a bit of a crush on Drew McIntyre. So, I mean, that helps,
well, there you go, then.
Me out. To be, like I said, the first British man, not only to be champion for the first time, but be, two-time champ. It's such a great thing.
It's an amazing thing for us Brits. We can actually feel proud of that. So don't get me wrong. Just because I chose Roman Reigns first as my Tribal Chief does not mean that I am not a huge fan of Drew McIntyre, because I am a very huge fan.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I realised when it came to like the fan reaction. If fans were in attendance now, and obviously Reigns is a heel, but he's kind of cool. And McIntyre has been a face, but he's been champion for a little while now. Do you think the
Yeah.
reaction would have been? Would you think Reigns might have got a few cheers, especially if it's like a hardcore crowd, like Chicago or something like that?
I was talking with my sister whilst we were watching this, and we had this discussion as well about because we know that they're adding in cheers and boos, and what it would actually be like if there was real life audience. And to be honest, I feel like right now with the way that Roman is, everyone is loving his heel character, and it's slowly kind of like it's reminding me of the sort of heel Stone Cold Steve Austin era, where like everyone was like still kind of cheering for him even though he was the heel. And it's very much like with what they tried to do with Becky Lynch, like they tried to turn her heel but everyone just kept cheering her on. Like it's kind of the same with that. So I feel like maybe the audience being there probably would have thwarted the fact that he's supposed to be seen as a heel. So it's probably helps that they're not there, but I do think that he would get some cheers in for sure.
Yeah, I think without doubt, and I think that like with McIntyre as well, giving him the kill, giving him the sword with that entrance. I think
that's such
quite,
a powerful entrance.
It's quite cool, but I think after a while could maybe become a little bit jokey. And I think McIntyre's got to be careful.
I feel like that only needs to come out at like sort of like the important ones. So I understand, like kind of him showcasing it now, but I don't think he needs to bring that sword out every time. I don't want him to become another King Corbin. King Corbin looks like he's just trying to cosplay as Game of Thrones or something. It's just coming across really, cosplayish. I don't want that to happen to Drew.
Now, and I think this is something they're going to have to look at because we saw how stale Seth Rollins went. As the champ, and this is like that sometimes with faces they don't know how. Well, we've seen it. We talked about Otis and Lana. They sometimes think we like lovable losers or just goofy people. Where we still want him to have like a kind of plan, and his plan for tonight, was to bring a war to Reigns. Reigns stalled early and had a big shoulder block from his opponent that forced him to reevaluate on the arena floor. Back inside, he caught the Raw Superstar with a big boot and clubbed away in a claw, and he drove the Scott into the post and continued to control the encounter. Reigns dominated, where McIntyre down and further rocking him with a jumping clothesline. Again, we talked about the height on Ford earlier. The height Reigns did with the clothesline on McIntyre. Again, he is a freak athlete.
And McIntyre is not a short guy. He's very tall. So the fact that you could just see the height that Roman went just to get that clothesline, that was amazing.
Oh, the Scott fought back low, delivering a big neck breaker and teased the Claymore, but Reigns hesitated to get up. McIntyre tried for the future shock and the Tribal Chief delivered a Samoan drop. Reigns tried for the Superman punch, but McIntyre caught with a spine buster for another close 2 count. McIntyre drove Reigns into the ring steps on the arena floor. What I quite liked about it as well was the fact that how the match started with Reigns dominating, sending McIntyre to the outside, sending the steps back in, and then it kind of repeated with McIntyre doing the same thing, hitting him through the stairs, going in through the ring, and coming back in.
Yeah, it also just kind of showed how evenly matched they were.
There was I reckon there was probably an Undertaker a reference or move in every match where I didn't pay close attention, but I noticed it in this one when they're in the corner and Reigns is giving the right hands, referee goes to stop him, Reigns looks at him, and then McIntyre comes out, grabs him, throws him in the corner. I thought that was quite a nice little thing to do that.
Oh my gosh, now that you've just said it, I just thought, that is like a very Undertaker move thing to do. I'm definitely going to have to go back and rewatch all the matches because I want to see if there's any other references.
I'm sure there was, but after, staying up that amount of time, I wasn't going to go back and check it, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was pretty tired after that.
I don't think people realise staying up until, 4 o'clock in the morning is kind of not a normal thing to do, but we have to.
I think that they should actually commend us Brits that do make that dedication to stay up at time just to watch it. We should get more credit for that.
Yeah, or a day off at work. I'll take if that
I'd
was
be
agreed.
happy with that too. That would be great.
Every pay-per-view, you'd have a day off. We then see Reigns answering with a Claymore attempt with a Superman punch. McIntyre fought out the guillotine choke, but still couldn't execute the Claymore. Reigns posted McIntyre, sending the champion shoulder first into the steel post. He then went for a spear, but McIntyre rolled through and applied a Kimura lock, but the stunned Big Dog made it to the ropes. On the floor, Reigns caught McIntyre and drove him through the announce table after 2 attempts. He then speared him through the guardrail, rolled it back in the ring, and only got a 2. And at that moment, I did make a little jump because, you know, when you think certain matches going certain ways, Reigns
you
takes
think,
through the
oh no,
announce
are they going
table.
to just twist it?
Yeah, through the barrier, throw back, and you go, oh, you're going to beat him like that. And then McIntyre gets strolled up, and you go, no, wait a minute, he's still in this one. He's still in it.
I was shocked, but in a good way about that. I liked that he kicked out of that.
Right, and then Reigns hit a spear, and McIntyre kicking out again, which Reigns at this point is getting really, really frustrated. McIntyre's, you know, showing his toughness, and then McIntyre finally delivered a Claymore, but Reigns hit the referee, and ref bumps can work certain ways where you go, oh, that was going to work. This one was kind of like, oh, whoa, no, that was well done. That was.
I thought it was really well executed.
And then we see Jey Uso appearing. Reigns hit a low blow. Uso followed with a super kick. Reigns then hit a Superman punch and applied the guillotine for the victory. So McIntyre didn't get pinned or tap out. He passed out. It also brings Jey Uso, for what we heard earlier in the night, getting eliminated, letting SmackDown down and coming back and helping his family member. It all delivered in a nice little bow, and it was an incredible match as well. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was really pleased with the ending, especially with seeing sort of the inclusion of Jey as well. I mean, overall, as soon as the match was over, I just kept on saying to myself, please, Roman, please do accept Jey back, and just I've got a sweet spot for them. I don't want them to split up, so I'm like, please let him. So it was a really nice way to end it, especially with sort of like at the end, just them embracing one another, but also seeing the frustration come from Drew McIntyre, knowing that he wasn't beat, he was just passed out. So, and I think that protected him well as well, because as I said before, I do see the likes of, like, you know, Reigns versus Drew being a WrestleMania match potentially. So that could potentially open up more storyline to come between them.
Well, let's not forget, we've seen McIntyre and Reigns at WrestleMania before, but this was completely different because that was a face Reigns and a heel McIntyre. And McIntyre's improved his position in the company immensely over this past year. We talk about the respect to become a 2-time, champion for the, UK champion for the first time, so to speak. But to do it with no crowds throughout the majority of the year, I think he needs to get a special, especially in like 5 or 6 or 10 years time when we've kind of gone back to normal. McIntyre, I think, needs credit during this time to realise what a difficult job it was,
Yeah, so that he can be given sort of like that sort of tenure of experiencing what it's like to be a champion with the crowd there, because he deserves that. We all deserved really to have been able to have attended WrestleMania, and it sucks that sort of they've had to carry on with doing their job and entertaining us fans throughout it. It would be really kind of like a nice reward if, like you said, when things are back to normal and there are crowds again, that he can have that sort of that moment.
I think we have that, and I think WWE building stars is maybe not something done, but only because on certain levels, and it took John Cena certain levels certain years to get on the level of like a Rock, because obviously we know like the Rock and the Undertaker and Austin are kind of like the go-to guys. Cena eventually got to that level, and with Reigns they're trying it, but no offense to Brock Lesnar, but it's about who you beat. And I think with McIntyre, the way McIntyre performed, the match itself was fantastic. When two big guys are going at it, this is what you want. And McIntyre took Reigns' biggest shot, and Reigns had to underhanded tactics. If McIntyre can get a victory over Reigns at like a WrestleMania, clean in the middle of the ring, think that will what that will do, because people say it's not about winning, but you need to beat people. You know what I'm saying? You need to be a great. At least with Randy Orton, and Edge and whoever, at least they beaten the Undertaker. At least they've beaten John Cena. And I think this is the problem.
There has to be something that you can actually look back on and say, yeah, well, look at all what they've accomplished. So I agree with you there.
Every generation has a great rivalry, whether it will be The Rock and Austin, or you go back to, you remember Hogan Warrior at WrestleMania. With Reigns, because he's so closely associated with the Shield and how great that was, if he can find a rival to kind of make you forget about that, and I think McIntyre and Reigns have that potential because of
Yeah.
how great the match was as well. The match was, like I say, personally for me, it was my match of the night. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
No, I do agree with you though. It was up there with the top matches.
well, I'd say, what was your score out of 5 for that one?
So I would give that a 4.5.
I think that'd be fair enough. Prediction wise, Select Match Pod and I both went Reigns. So the final scores, the WNR does win, beat Select Match Pod. That is 4-3 in predictions. So we got a win
Congrats,
back.
WNR. Yeah, you got a win.
Got my win back. The only time I have been beaten this year was the last event, and I've got my win back. So I'm more than happy
Yep.
about that. Poll wise, 57% went Drew McIntyre in that match, which was quite surprising. I think a lot of British fans was out there. And that was it for
it could also be that, you know, that he's coming off the recent win of getting the title back. So who knows? They probably thought, who knows, he could pull it out.
I think this will be interesting to see. I mean, with Roman and Drew, I mean, what would you rather see for Roman Reigns now? To see the Jey Uso storyline finish with Jey maybe getting a victory over Roman, or do you want to see maybe someone else in that position? You know,
Yeah,
if
so
the
you know, I think it really should predominantly be that once Jimmy's back in action, him and Jay just kind of start looking to dominate the tag team division and actually build on the reputation of the tribal chief of Roman Reigns. Like that's the storyline that he's going with right now, is that you need to represent for me, for this family. You know, we need to be at the top of the division. So I don't really see there being any more rivalry between Jimmy and Jay, and Roman. I see them actually becoming a stronger faction with having Jimmy come back and them actually starting to dominate too. Or that, in my opinion, it should be the way that they look to go at that, and actually have Roman start looking to make his moves on some of the powerhouses within SmackDown. You know, he's got to start kind of branching out. It can't consistently be him versus his own cousin. Like, that's not how he wants his title reign to go.
no, and I think it'll be interesting, especially if maybe Daniel Bryan can get involved or something like that. I think a match with Reigns would be really, really good. But it's an interesting time, and that's what I liked about Survivor Series, was the fact that, you know, it's with McIntyre and Reigns and even Oscar and Banks, you know, you're going, do you know what? If they can get the rivalries correct, then the next few months leading up to WrestleMania might actually be quite exciting as opposed to what we normally have, you know?
Definitely.
All right, so then we had the Undertaker farewell. Well, what happened? Well, we had Jeff Hardy, JBL, Kevin Nash, Rikishi, Big Show, Shane McMahon, the Godwins, the Godfather, Savio Vega, Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels, Booker T, Ric Flair, Triple H, and Kane all hit the ring for the final farewell of the Undertaker. Now, quick few things. Of course, Shane McMahon faced Undertaker at WrestleMania 32 in Hell in a Cell. Big Show faced the Undertaker at WrestleMania 19 and at Survivor Series 2008. JBL wrestling as Justin Hawk Bradshaw in 1996 was wrestling the Undertaker when Mankind made his debut the night after WrestleMania. Jeff versus Taker, of course, Jeff Hardy in a ladder match in 2002 was something else to begin with. Foley, of course, King of the Ring 1998, and he faced him in pay-per-view in Survivor Series 1996 as well. And then we had the Bone Street Crew, or the BSK, who came out. And the group consisted of James Harrison, Undertaker, Savio Vega, Henry Godwin, Godfather Mideon, Yokozuna, Brian Adams, Rikishi, Paul Bearer, and Mr. Fuji. And they began in 1993 in WWF, and they basically stood up to the clique during these times. So when Shawn Michaels was misbehaving, then they would make sure that he would pay the piper, so to speak. Savio Vega, it was good to see Savio Vega. He wrestled Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 12. Which I thought was quite funny when Austin was the ringmaster.
Oh, wow.
The entrances did take wrestler. Shawn Michaels, for me, greatest Mania match ever with Undertaker. I am a huge Undertaker fan. What are your thoughts on the dead? What are your thoughts on the dead man?
I mean, as you said, I'm a huge fan too. I remember when Undertaker came into it. I was very young. He terrified me. He actually used to be part of my nightmares. And then, there's me watching it 30 years later, and I'm literally crying my eyes out at seeing him, like, sort of depart from this. I think the biggest disappointment that came from the whole sort of segment was how weird it was to see everyone sort of come out, and I was expecting them to all sort of have a bit of a chit chat or reminisce. But then all of a sudden, like, we came back from break, and then it was just Vince McMahon in the ring, and he was just about to sort of call him out. So I was a little bit disappointed. I thought we were going to get, a bit of nostalgia come from those, all of those that you mentioned previously. But I don't feel like it needed to be long. So I felt like with how the Undertaker handled his goodbye, it was really well done. And yeah, the Paul Bearer viewing at the end really just got me at the end.
I think we're out of doubt. We'll get onto that in a second because that's a huge Undertaker fan. I'm a bit disappointed Rikishi didn't mention the fact he ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin at Survivor Series 1999. I think he should have got the mic and actually said that. Ric Flair was there as well. WrestleMania 18. He told when Undertaker picked him, Flair said, "I can't go. I'm an old man." And Undertaker said, "No, you'll be all right. Don't worry about that." The game is the only man that faced him 3 times at WrestleMania. Of course, Kane 2 times at Mania, Survivor Series 1998 as well. And of course, buried him alive in 2003. And like I said, the Metallica feud video package. I've seen Undertaker promo packages, and it didn't really, I don't want to say do anything for me, but it was just your generic Undertaker highlight package, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I don't feel like they made like as big a deal about it, but I also know that there's a lot of comments of people thinking that this still isn't the last that we're going to see of him. So I don't know. It's kind of 50-50. I want to say that it's a real goodbye, but I mean, is it ever going to be? I mean, is he? I'm sure that he could be, mentoring a lot of the young talent there and stuff. So I don't think that the Undertaker will ever be gone. But yeah, we'll have to see, won't we?
Yeah. Well, like I say, we'll get into that in just a second because, like I said, we had the introduction of Vince McMahon, who was standing in the ring, and he looked really upset, and he said, 30 years, 30 long, arduous years. That's 3 decades for anybody who didn't know. 3 decades of his injuries and hardships he's endured, and stricken fear in the hearts of, if not terror in the hearts of almost everyone here in the ring, and at the same time entertain the global audience, be it WWF or, of course, WWE Universe currently, which broke the internet then when he said WWF. He said it's an end of an era. We say goodbye. The legacy of the Undertaker will live on internally, which made me think, like I said, in Last Ride, obviously anybody, go check it out if you haven't caught it. He's talking about, wanting to train up the young guys in NXT. You imagine the Triple H, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker together in NXT training young guys. What an environment that would be,
That would be just an honor in itself to be, like, I think that could actually elevate NXT in itself to, even for the audience to know that Undertaker are sort of training these young individuals. That would be an amazing thing to just sort of kind of see come across in future wrestlers.
It'll be crazy. And then Vince McMahon introduced his company's greatest creation one last time. The Phenom took to the squared circle and cut a brief promo saying, "For 30 long years, I've made that slow walk to this ring. They've laid people to rest time and time again. And now my time has come. My time has come to let The Undertaker rest in peace." And he knelt down as a hologram of Paul Bearer appeared, and I lost my shit. Not going to lie. I have been 1992, I remember seeing Undertaker versus Kamala, seeing this man for the first time. First, experience of wrestling. And he's been there ever since. Even when I've given up on wrestling for, few months, few years and come back to it, he was always there. And I think with the Paul Bearer thing, over the weekend, I'd watched like the Mortician, the documentary on the network and stuff like this. And when it happened, I was just like, shit, you got me. And fair play.
I wasn't expecting it.
No, without a doubt. And like you said, the commentator's not saying anything as well during the whole entrance. It just meant a little bit more. Yes, it was a shame there was no crowd. You know, horrible there was no crowd there. But what I reckon and what I hope is they don't bring him back for a match. But maybe not this year, maybe the following year, Hall of Fame as the main event attraction. He can take a WrestleMania entrance one last time, you know? Come down the aisle,
and I think that would be perfect so that, you know, those in attendance can finally actually say their goodbyes.
I mean, like I said, there was something about wrestling that brings out the child in all of us. And seeing a guy that had been around there for the majority of my life finally going away, even if it's not, even if he does come back, do you know what? He's one of those guys, I'm just going to be like, he's not like a Goldberg in my eyes. Undertaker.
I'm not going to get annoyed. But
no, if he wants to come back, yeah, let him. You know what I mean? He's dead, man. What have you done? He's done 30 years, you know?
Yeah. If he wants to come back because if he just wants to relive his days, then I'm happy with that because that will just entertain me in my days.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so many... This is the thing. I was trying to think of a favourite match or moment, and there was just so many that I mean, have you got a favourite Undertaker match or moment? I mean,
I think it's got to be. I can without a doubt tell you now that is Undertaker and Mick Foley. That Hell in a Cell match where he threw him down. Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember watching that match and just being amazed.
This is the thing. In '92, like I said, when I started watching, and then as a kid, you kind of go away from it, and it wasn't until about '98 when I saw that and I thought, oh, is that what wrestling's become?
Yeah. Oh, this is what it's like. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I might watch that. Yeah. I mean, that was for me. I obviously wasn't around when he first came into it, but I had to go back and kind of watch all of his content and just really see what it was like when he first came into it because he just amazed me so much. So yeah, if he comes back again, I'm never going to complain about it.
No, without a doubt. And you know, as how old was I? It's like 5 or a 4-year-old child, and seeing him go, Kamala, you will rest in peace. It was just like, I will never forget that moment. You know, never ever.
I remember my mum having a go at my dad for introducing my sister and I to wrestling because after we first saw him, we were so scared we couldn't sleep.
It's just, there was something he brought into that character so much. And like I said, for 30 years, he's not really this has been the first couple of years that we've seen behind the curtain. And, you know, if he wants to sit back and, you know, make £1,000 on 30-second videos or whatever it is, then so be it. He's deserved it because he's put his body on the line. And like I said, on the WNR, I mean, we've done 4 specials of the Undertaker, and I think that got rid of 2 co-hosts. You know what I mean? The amount I wanted to see of the Undertaker because of how much that was over time, and there's still a part of me that maybe can't believe it and doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Because then once that happens, it's like, you know, talk about building new stars and who's going to be the next guy, you know, who's going to be the next person that we're going to look at and go, oh, that's the yardstick. That's what WWE is all about, you know, and it's going to be so, I'm actually getting quite depressed thinking about
well, let's keep our fingers crossed that he is going to be going and training, you know, sort of talent within NXT, because that would be a real exciting time then. I want to believe that it's not forever that he's gone. I want to believe that like he will make a return. So let's hold on to that hope.
Yeah, exactly. Like au revoir is always see you later. It's not goodbye. So hopefully. So match of the night when it came to Survivor Series as a whole, my match of the night was McIntyre versus Reigns main event. I do believe yours was Bank versus Oscar. You happy with that choice?
It was indeed.
So what was your person of the night? I've got to say my person of the night is The Undertaker. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with that too. If we're talking wrestlers that actually performed, then I would have said Bianca Belair. But overall, person of the night, yeah, it was really all about the Undertaker and the homage to him and stuff. And I got really worked up right at the end. So they did it well there.
Yeah, no, they did it really, really well. And overall rating of the event, what would you give it out of 10?
I'd give it a 7.
A 7?
A 7.
Wow, I think
Well,
my
I
scores
mean, because there was no storyline that's going to be carried on from this. I mean, I could go higher in terms of the Undertaker if we're adding that on, but are we adding him in, or is it just about the pay-per-view?
I'm adding everything.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well,
adding
if
the
we're gonna,
pay-per-view
okay,
and the Undertaker thing.
okay. Well, if we're gonna, I didn't know if we were just doing the pay-per-view. So if we're adding Undertaker in, then yeah, I'd definitely give it an 8.5.
But I didn't mean to push you on that one. It's just because my score.
So I didn't actually think to consider him. I thought you were just on about the matches that took place itself. So that was my bad then.
Well, no, it's only my fault because I've given it a 9.25, and I thought, wait a minute.
But that's predominantly because of the Undertaker there. Because look at how high my score shot up after you said we're including that too. So it should be there.
Saying that though, I mean, the Street Profits New Day was a 4.5, 5-star type of matchup. The main event for me was a kind of 5-star matchup, and like I said, the women's and the men's. I think overall the action. I mean, because the action was probably over. You know, like it was 45
it's probably
minutes
been
left.
some of the best that we've seen this year, to be honest. Like in terms of all of the matches. So yeah, it definitely is up there.
Like talk about, there's no kind of meaning to it, but then again, if this leads to a McIntyre and Roman Reigns WrestleMania main event, then
I might have to. If it does, then I might have to rechange my score.
We'll come back to that
for the continuity. I'll have to change it for the continuity if they stick with this. Let's see where they go.
The matches were really, really good. I think all matches delivered. I don't think there's one that you thought, oh, that's not great. Yes, a couple of finishes weren't great, but I think the matches were good. The event shot along as a whole, and like I said, it's kind of, to sit down and watch all that. I think it's kind of one of the best W pay-per-views they've done all year, and I think they're finally getting used to kind of no crowds as well in a weird way.
It was, especially when you compare it to the likes of WrestleMania this year. I'm not saying it wasn't like the greatest, but you know, like they've come so far, and I think, you know, coming towards the end of the year, this was a really good pay-per-view and probably one of the top ones of this year.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that one. But that is it for Survivor Series. Any final thoughts on the entire Survivor Series event?
Not really, unless you just want to kind of talk more into the Undertaker and how great he is. You know, that was what I took from the ending of it. Really, is just great appreciation for the Undertaker and just how much he did for the business, and just a big thank you to him.
I think on that note, we'll leave that for Survivor Series. Like I said, thank you. Our next episode will be WCW in 2000. Yes, the favourite shit show everybody likes. Our follower of the week is at Aaron Wilson, WWE. And that is it. Don't forget you can follow us across all social media. Twitter at the WNR Podcast. We're also on Facebook, the WNR Podcast, and Instagram. I'm at the WNRJR on Twitter. Do you want to just plug your Instagram and your Twitter quickly as well?
Yep, I'm at JaxieScarlett on both Instagram and Twitter, so please do come say hi.
Without doubt, check her out there. And across all the Google platforms, send us an email, the WNR Podcast at gmail.com, and YouTube, the WNR Podcast, with the latest clips, and they got the same time on YouTube as they do SoundCloud on your phone. We're also on Stitcher and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode, WCW in 2000. But until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by
JaxieScarlett.
Either or, it doesn't work. I was going to say the fabulous JaxieScarlett, but you can say it yourself as well. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. I do look forward to next month and TLC.
Yes, you will be back for TLC in December. I cannot wait for that. But for today, like I said, thank you for being on the podcast, and really appreciated.
No, greatly appreciated my end too.
Okay, that is it, everybody. Thanks for listening, and bye.